Buffalo Rome is back, and we're slowly turning our place into a studio. We're getting there. We're almost adults, I guess.
A lot of work. We still got a lot to do, but I think we're making some progress.
I think this is a little easier format, a little more conversational, as opposed to us cringing our neck, turning each other.
For that.
But we're back, and we're here with a special guest. Before we get to that, I think at the top of the show, we want to acknowledge passing of somebody who had a tremendous effect on Quapaw Nation. I'll let you read it, but 57 years in Quapaw Nation politics?
And that's, continuous service to the nation. That's what we know of. But Lloyd's been a bigger part than that, Lloyd served on the Quapaw Business Committee and was one of two members that held every position. He served a total of 57 years. Other positions he held or helped with include the Business Committee of the Eastern Shawnee Tribe, Modoc Tribal Businesses, and helped write the Constitution for the Modoc Tribe. He wrote numerous grants starting at the beginning of the first casino outside of Miami, and later on writing a grant that would help construct the Northeast Tribal Health Center. He served on the Downstream Development Authority, and that was the first one that helped get Downstream built. Lloyd's favorite hobbies included hunting, fishing, and he was known to be an excellent artist. He even carried the Olympic torch on the run across America. He had a feature published in the Quapaw books that was written by Velma Nieberding. And Lloyd, just an amazing career.
Yeah. Well, our thoughts go out to the family and everybody now. Definitely one of a kind, and I don't see a scenario where another person serves 57 continuous years in anything. So
I don't know if we'd allow that nowadays. I think that, but Lloyd, there was such great respect, I think, throughout the nation.
So again, the thoughts are with him and his family. Moving on, we can't do this show without our partners, Saracen Casino Resort. I literally just got off the phone with some of their management, and good news. Saracen Hotel is now open for Quapaw Tribal member citizens. We're excited to announce that Saracen Hotel is now open, and welcome to Quapaw Tribal citizens. There's an exclusive tribal member hotel rate. As a Quapaw Tribal member citizen, you're eligible for a special discounted hotel rate of $68 per night, and that's 7 days a week, of course, based on availability, because they have tons of events going on down there. You're going to want to call, and I'll have this up on the screen, 870-686-9001. And again, that is 870-686-9001 to make your reservation. Inform the reservation agent that you are a Quapaw Tribal member citizen when booking, and then when you go down and present your valid Quapaw Tribal ID to check in, and you're off to a nice little vacation a few hours from here. Of course, guests must be 21 years of age or older to enter Saracen Casino Resort. That's a state gaming regulation. Unfortunately, it prohibits anyone from under the age of 21 entering or remaining or being anywhere near the gaming floor. But again, if you're a tribal member and you're over 21, 870-686-9001, and make sure you check out When in Arkansas. Download that Bet Saracen app. Win you some money. Of course, we want to remind you, be responsible with that. And again, we'll throw up that if you have a gaming issue, of course, we'll put up that information on where you can seek help, because we are all about responsible gaming. Well, let's get into it. Give a round of applause.
Buddy Shapp.
Buddy Shapp. Now, real quick, let's just go ahead and get in an introduction, who you are, a little bit of your background, because you have an extensive background. You've traveled all over, spent some time in the Great White North, and so I'm just curious. Let's hear about your background and how you ended up here working with Quapaw Nation.
So my background is I grew up in Quapaw. I graduated in the late 80s, and then I went on to college. I got a bachelor's degree from Missouri Southern State College at the time. It's now university, in criminal justice. Yep. And took me a couple of years to get hired, but I got my start with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and was a uniform officer in Arizona for a couple of years. And then I became an agent for them, spent 8 years doing that. And then in 2004, primarily worked drugs with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and I didn't think I wanted to do that for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
So in 2004, I switched over to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and first duty station was Indiana. I spent 11 years there, and got our kids pretty much through school, and had the opportunity to transfer to Alaska. There were several duty stations that came up. That was hard to fill duty stations, and
I bet.
I kind of floated Guam, but my wife didn't think that was a good idea. So we compromised on Alaska, and moved there in 2015. Spent the last 6 years of my career there. Retired in 2021. My wife and I are both from Quapaw, so we moved back here, and always wanted to give something back to the tribe, because they helped me out when I was going to college, like they do many people.
Yeah.
And so I think the first job I applied for was a coffee roaster position.
Yeah.
Back in
2020.
2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2020. And that didn't work out, but I think John had forwarded my resume to the business committee, and that led to a meeting with the business committee at that time, and we talked about tribal natural resources department, and they wanted me to give some ideas. So I wrote I don't remember how many pages it was now, 3 or 5 pages of ideas for a Quapaw Nation natural resource department.
I remember seeing your resume at that time, and I literally walked in, because at that time the BC was still the DDA, and I walked in their office. I was like, all right, he might not be the coffee guy, but I'm telling you, Quapaw Nation needs him, and we need fish and wildlife. Like,
I think things work out in the big scheme, because I think I hate to say it, but I think it probably would be, and I'm speaking out of turn, but it's been a waste for you to be roasting coffee when there's so many things that you can contribute. So just curiosity, I have to ask, 6 years in Alaska, what's the biggest difference in 4 states life compared to living in Alaska? What are the big differences? Because I'm trying to mentally frame what it would be like to live in Alaska. Paint that picture for me.
Just the amount of outdoor activities that people do. I mean, I never have really liked the cold weather, and people always make fun of me when I say I lived in Alaska. But Anchorage was more, which is where we lived, was more, the climate wasn't like the extremes like you see in Fairbanks. It's minus 20 or minus 40. Right. Fairbanks actually has the highest average temperature swing of any city I don't remember if it's the U.S. or the world, but they can get up to have typical average summer temperatures in the 80s, and then in the winter I forget what their average temperature is, but they commonly get to minus 20, minus 40.
Wow, that's a huge swing. What's the daylight hours look like? Because we always hear about crazy aspects of 6 months of no light. I mean, what are some of those myths? Is that real? Is that just something people?
To a certain extent, it depends on how far north you go. In Anchorage, in the dead of winter, we would have about 6 hours of daylight, and it wasn't daylight like the sun's overhead. It's daylight, the sun's just barely above the horizon. That was probably towards the end, what wore on me more than just the cold. Because my wife and I did learn to like outdoor activities in the wintertime. I had a fat tire bike and had studs on it, like studded car tires. So we'd go out riding in the wintertime and different things. But the sunlight, the lack of sunlight really begins to
So seasonal depression's a real thing.
Yeah, they had things they called happy lights, and you could go to Walgreens or CVS or whatever, and it was a little square light like that.
Wow.
That I have on my desk that blasts me with something that mimics sunlight.
Like a tanning bed, I guess, so to speak, a homemade tanning bed. Wow, that's incredible. It's hard for me to imagine that. So you do 6 years in Alaska, and you come back here and currently with forestry.
Well, hold on, because in 2020, we saw that resume, right? In 2020, we said, hey, this looks like a good idea. We still didn't get there for quite a while, right? This is a new thing.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how the process went between 2020 and 2024. I know there was a grant written by the environmental department that was from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, a tribal wildlife grant that was for a proposal to fund a conservation coordinator position. So that position was advertised, I think, in late 2023. There's a gentleman that was hired for the position in 2024, January, I believe, and I don't know any of his background. Unfortunately, tragically, he passed away due to an accident. So he was hired around January of 2024, and he passed away in October of that same year.
Oh, wow.
So he was the original conservation coordinator, and at that time I was working in the oil field, so I would fly to Alaska, work for 3 weeks, and then fly back home and be off for 3 weeks, which kind of ruined me. That was a really nice retirement schedule.
So you were an Alaskan landman. So you just keep taking it. Yeah. You were Billy Bob Thornton before Billy Bob Thornton was the landman.
Well, and bouncing back to the sunlight a little bit, I never was in the far north of Alaska in the dead of winter. So I didn't really understand the no sunlight either. But in the oil field, I did get to experience that, and it is light, but it's like a weird blue glow, almost like right after or right before it finally gets dark in the evening time airs. So you can see, but the sun is not visible for how long it is, 60, 65 or 80 days, whatever it is. So that did take some getting used to in the oil field, because be there for 3 weeks and never see the sunrise. But Alaska keeps drawing me back.
Oddly enough, for a person that doesn't like the cold.
I know that's incredible. So I guess that brings us to today.
Yeah.
What are some of the main things that your job entails now that you would like tribal members to be aware of? Because I'm sure there are tons of things that come across, but what are a few of the items that you really want to make Quapaw tribal members aware of with the ever-changing world that you kind of navigate? Hunting has been a big topic. Of course, you see it in the news in Oklahoma. I mean, all kinds of headlines, and it's hard to tell sometimes what's real and what's hype. But what are the things that you want to communicate to the tribal members today?
On the advice of counsel, that's been in the news recently.
Yes, Dr. Fauci, I guess. Thank you.
Well, jumping backwards just a little bit. So, the opportunity of the Gaming Commission came open in early 2025, and I threw my name in the hat for that and ended up getting that. And then, we meet once a week, so I'm kind of tied here, and the conservation position was advertised again. So I talked to my wife and ended up throwing my name back in the hat for that. And so I was hired into this position in July of last year, 2025. And my predecessor had laid the groundwork for the fishing and wildlife code as we that we have today. And over my career, I had the opportunity to see wildlife codes, fishing and hunting codes from many states, and
Arizona to Alaska. I can imagine more diverse climates that you have to be aware of the gaming of that,
and international hunting and fishing laws as well, or wildlife codes as well. So what they had done is taken the state code and pare it down to fit the Quapaw Nation. So with my experience and everything, I saw some things that I thought need to be changed. So the attorneys and I spent a great deal of time from probably September to right after the first of the year, so January of 2026, making adjustments to the wildlife code and into what it is today. So we were going to enact the code. It was ready to go in May, I believe it was, and then the Intertribal Council started working on a code that would cover all the tribes of the Intertribal Council. So I became involved in that, and they took the vast majority of my suggestions, so we paused the enactment of our code for a few months to see how that went, and at the end of the day, we just felt like the code that we had at this time was best for the Quapaw people.
And I'm sure that's like anything, though. A lot of that one size fits all for tribal nation doesn't work.
Well, we've seen it. We've seen it in different various factors, right? Where that whole one size fits all, it doesn't.
No,
especially for tribal nations, like the way that we exercise our sovereignty,
different culture, different history, different. I mean, you have to take all those things in consideration. So I imagine it's probably pretty close, though.
Yeah, no, there was so what they did was take the Creek Nation code and craft it to fit us, the intertribal tribes, and there was an overarching wildlife code, but then each tribe could have addendums for their specific reservation of how they want to handle licensing and fines and that sort of thing. So there was carve out for that each specific tribe could have their own rules. And it's the business committees wants for us to continue to work with the Intertribal Council,
of course,
to try to either become a part of that group of their unified code, or at the very least enter into a reciprocity agreement where our members could hunt across all the other tribes' lands, or vice versa.
Do you see a fairly easy path to that, or you think it's going to take some work, or?
It'll take some work. I mean, the ITC just enacted their codes earlier this week, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was in the news.
Tuesday, I believe it was. So I don't think it's that far of a jump for us to get from our code to their code. Us, the ITC, and even the 5 tribes, the Choctaws, Cherokees, Chickasaws, Seminoles, and Creeks. Did I say Creeks? What are
the 5 civilized tribes?
Yeah, 5 civilized tribes. Even they use the state code as a lot of the basis for their codes, because especially when it comes to following the bag limits and the season dates, you don't want to confuse people and have them, be crossways with the law. So
it's kind of like a plus and minus game with that, really, because anytime you align yourself with the state, right, in a way, some could look at that as diminishing your sovereignty, right? Like you're saying, hey, we're not them, but our laws are parallel.
Yeah, so I'm trying to imagine all the spinning plates that you've got going on, because you've got, the Quapaw code is trying to work with the intertribal, and then the whole state of Oklahoma. That's a whole different can of worms. I mean, it was in the headlines all last year. But, governor had one idea, the attorney general, had another, and then
and you see that playing out.
Bear hunting, and there's headlines all over when it talks about hunting. So you have to navigate all those different worlds. How do you
prepare for multiple outcomes, right? Because you never know what the next governor is going to think compared to what we have now, right? It could be
well, now would be a good time if people don't make your voice heard, because again, voter turnout is it's so disappointing.
I believe last number that I had heard was 800,000 eligible tribal votes that are in the state, and we do not exercise that currently. That is something that we've got to push.
Yeah, and of course we just had some primaries, and that's why it's top of mind. But that's the most important thing, is to get your voice heard, to vote that. But back to you, how do you navigate all of that in an average day? I mean, how's that even possible?
Just time management. I mean, in addition to the wildlife code, since it got finalized back prior to May, I've been working on the regulations, because even in addition to the code, that does not address everything. You need something that can change yearly with the bag limits or the season dates, or as new rules come out. You don't want to have to go back to the business committee and get a resolution every year to change one little sentence or whatever. Now with the regulations, they still will review it, but it doesn't take a full resolution because it falls under the auspices of the overall wildlife code.
So I'm a tribal member. I want to go get my hunting license. Would I still go to Walmart or wherever to get my tags and stuff, or do I go through the nation now? Like, what's that process look like?
Well, you can. A lot of people have their lifetime hunting and fishing license through Oklahoma, so the tribe will still honor that. So if you have or even if you buy an annual hunting license or fishing license, whatever, the Quapaw Nation will honor that license for hunting within the reservation. This first year, we're only offering, I'll say, licenses to Quapaw Nation tribal members. And that doesn't matter if you live in the state of Oklahoma or if you're a resident of another state. You don't have to register anything with the tribe. Your tribal ID will be your hunting license.
Oh, okay.
So if your tribal ID has a photo on it, you don't need to carry anything else in the field. If it doesn't have a photo on it, you need to carry a photo ID. So if you do happen to be contacted by law enforcement, whether it be state or one of our game and fish marshals, they can verify who you are.
Well, that leads into the next question then. Does the state recognize Quapaw Nation's ability to do that?
Good question. We're exerting our authority within the boundaries of our reservation to license. Like I said, just this first year will be Quapaw Nation tribal members. So our attorney's opinion is a Quapaw Nation tribal member can hunt on tribal land, restricted private land, or fee land with no issues, and even state-owned land, which I think the only areas we may have that are state-owned is maybe Blue Hole State Park and Promenade. The tribal license probably still works for those areas, but I can't imagine people hunting there. For one, they may fish there, but that may be the only place where it gets a little sticky, is on state-owned land.
What a lot of people probably don't realize is, at least specifically the Quapaw that I know of, I think it was our 1824 treaty. I could be wrong, but one of our treaties, we were gifted lifetime hunting licenses within our reservation boundary. That's something that kind of just fell by the wayside for a long time. So I'm glad to see this is a fight that's being picked back up. Obviously, it's kind of like a testing area right now.
Yeah.
But
the business committee didn't want to limit hunting rights for Quapaws that live out of state, because and there is no fees associated with it, obviously, for Quapaw Nation tribal members. And we're viewing this as like a lifetime license, so it includes all your tags and permits that you need to hunt. And there in addition to me, this has been a group project. Our attorneys have been involved. Trenton's been involved. Stacia's been involved to a certain extent, and IT's been heavily involved. So it's been a group effort, and IT is still working on different things on the backside for deer and turkey check-in.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is how do you handle limits, like bag limits? How do you?
Well, it'll be the same. So if you're familiar with state law or fishing regulations or hunting regulations, at this point in time, our bag limits are the same. So if the state says you can harvest 6 deer in Ottawa County, that's what you can harvest under the Quapaw Nation license. Now, that's in total. You can't harvest 6 deer under the Quapaw Nation license
and then go to the state
and harvest 6 more deer.
Oh, okay.
It's 6 deer total for Ottawa County.
Well, I guess you had just mentioned that you're viewing this as a lifetime license, and that includes tags, right? So they don't have to pay for the tags, but they still have to come get tags from you guys?
No. The only tags that they would need that would not be covered under the for the Quapaw Nation tribal member is federal licenses, like a federal duck stamp or a hit number. They would still have to go to the federal government to get that. But if they're hunting within the Quapaw boundaries of the Quapaw reservation, their tribal ID is all they need, in addition to any federal license. Or
how do we track if they're not issued like a doe tag or whatever? How are we tracking how many that they're harvesting?
That'll be through the online check-in system. Okay. I'll have access to that. Law enforcement will have access to that, and we can see if somebody's harvesting more deer than what they should be, or turkey.
Okay. Wow.
And it's important probably here at this point to say that this is only within the Quapaw reservation. It does not apply to
other states.
Our land in Missouri, the retention pond by downstream in Kansas, or the land that the tribe owns west of the reservation, the Twin Ranches, I believe it's called. The Quapaw Nation license does not apply in those areas. It's only within the boundaries of the reservation.
Okay.
There's a lot of information,
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we'll put that up on the screen, all the websites, all the check-in, so everybody can make sure we've got it, because that is a lot to take in.
Yeah, and there'll be more information coming out, and I've got I'll have my phone number and email address here if people have questions between now and hunting seasons. They can reach out to me, and I can answer questions as needed.
So speaking of questions, what are some of the frequently asked questions that you get that maybe we take a moment to address here that you get asked probably most often? What are some of those that you get from tribal members?
Well, I haven't got any yet.
Open the floodgates.
Yeah.
No.
One thing that I do need.
Questions in the comment section below.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that I did want to mention, so the Realty Department accepts applications for people that wish to hunt on tribally owned land. Those applications are going to be accepted through August 31st, so about 3 more weeks.
Okay.
So if anybody's interested in hunting on Quapaw Nation land this year and into next year, make sure you get your applications in. And application doesn't mean that you're going to get a spot, but depending on how many people we have apply, that's how that all comes into play.
Okay. Wow.
My brain hurts.
Yeah, it's definitely a take, but I'm glad we're going through this, because I'm sure that there's so many questions that tribal members have, and that's one of the functions of this show, is to really kind of break down those questions and address what are some of the other things that you would like Quapaw tribal members to be aware of involving you and your work.
Well, we touched on earlier some of my familiarity with other hunting laws, state, federal, and international. Some of the things that we put in here that are not in the state codes that I think is important for Native people is we have a traditional use component. So this was really big in Alaska, but say somebody wanted to harvest some mussels for a dinner or a deer for a dinner. Now they do need to get approval from us first. They need to let the real conservation coordinator know. But that is something that we would allow to be done outside the realm of the normal bag limits.
Okay.
And then we have an artwork carve out because, and this was probably something that stemmed from my time in Alaska as well, because the Alaska natives there can carve walrus ivory and sell it to anybody.
Yeah.
So I wanted something like that to be in here because the original version made it sound like hunting mounts or whatever. You could potentially have an issue with that. So like I went to Brazil as with a nonprofit group. This is after I retired, and we give some presentations to the native groups in Brazil, and they gifted us these items that had some sort of feather on them. I'm not sure what they are, but the way the code was originally written, that could have caused an issue for me. Yeah, and I do have in Alaska, the natives can carve whale baleen, and so I have a piece of that. So I could have ran into trouble with that as well. In addition to, like I said, regular hunting mounts. Like, is there any kind of paperwork
you have to have for that, or is there? No. Just okay.
No, I mean, this is what I told people when I was still working. If you bought something at a store, I would keep that receipt.
Yeah.
So you can prove that this is where I got this item. Something being
common sense approach.
Yeah, something being gifted to you like was done to me in Brazil. That's a little bit different, but I have witnesses.
There you go.
Another thing we have is restitution. So if the tribe could go after somebody if they kill more deer or turkey than they're allowed, in addition to a fine or imprisonment, the tribe could request that the courts make the person pay restitution to the tribe or whoever for the loss of the wildlife.
Good.
And another thing is that I'm not sure if either one of these are in the state code, but environmental harm. So if we have a company that releases something into the waterways or causes some wildlife catastrophe, the tribe could go after that company for the environmental harm that they cause to the reservation.
Boy, it'd be nice to have that retroactively, wouldn't it?
Back to the 1920s.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So that is a lot. So, as if that's not enough on your plate, what's next?
We're working on, like I said, the regulations. I've got all of those done. Most of those are with the attorneys at this point, going through a final review. Working on a conservation plan that will kind of be a roadmap for handling wildlife assessments and habitat assessments for the next few years. And then that should be enacted by the end of the year. People won't really see that much. That's kind of more for the tribal government side.
Right.
But then I'm working on a grant that will hopefully fund another position to further expand the wildlife department. And so you'd have the conservation coordinator position and then another position that is kind of the next building block in my eyes of expanding the conservation department.
All that on your plate, and I ask, what's next? Like, what's as if that's not enough. That's just incredible work, and a round of applause for all the stuff that you and your department, because and everybody that you work with, because we know it's not just you, you have a whole excellent support system with all of that. But I mean, there's so much components of this, and so many components of your job that I wasn't even aware of. We started working with you, O-Gah-Pah Communications last year on was it wasting syndrome?
Chronic wasting disease,
which hopefully we'll have you back here in a couple of weeks, because I didn't even know that was a thing. Like zombie deer. Like what are we talking about here? If as if all these things weren't bad enough, now we got zombie deer we got to worry about.
Yeah, fortunately, in 2024 they sampled approximately 45 hunter harvested deer, and all those were negative. And then last year we harvested, we sampled about the same amount of hunter harvested deer, and fortunately all those were negative for chronic wasting disease as well. So that's good news. We're not going to continue that project this fall, but hopefully next year that'll pick back up and we can start assessing the deer again, because we did have some good partners there as well. With the Grand River Dam Association and or authority, and a deer processor was kind enough to let us set up and contact deer hunters as they was bringing in their deer, and it was a pretty quick process. Just cut out lymph nodes out of the neck and send them off to Kansas State for sampling.
Yeah, we're very grateful. We have great partners that make our job easy. But man, it's a lot to take in, John.
Well, hey, I'm just thankful for you showing up. I think I broke through a couple of the questions. Hopefully, I'm sure you're going to get a lot more from other tribal members. Yeah, probably a lot more connected.
I like what Austin said here. If you got questions, comments, all that, we have a comment section. Please, we love to hear your feedback. We want to hear it. But we're grateful that got to be first. Usually, we're begging for guests to come on, and Buddy actually asked to be on.
We had to bribe him a little bit with
a
free t-shirt.
Yeah, we got him a t-shirt, and you'll notice John's got a Quapaw hat on, and I've got some sampling shirts. We're working on merchandising for tribal members in this new space, and bright things are on the horizon for Quapaw Nation, O-Gah-Pah Communication. It sounds like bright things are on the horizons for you and what you do. So anything else in closing that you want to address, need to get out there for tribal members as we conclude?
Well, I only came on here because I heard you guys catered Chick-fil-A to all the guests. So that's the only reason I came on.
Who told us that?
That was a lie.
Yeah, that was a lie. That was Austin ate it all.
I do want to say a disclaimer. So this is just a summary of the rules and regulations that we've talked about today. So if anybody wants to hunt and fish, make sure you read the ordinance and regulations to be familiar. Because I think everything I said was accurate, but I could have misspoke.
Well, and again, we'll put your information up on the screen. But like I said, if you've got questions, not quite sure about something, take the time.
Yeah.
Call, ask the question.
This has been another episode of Where the Buffalo Roam. Stay tuned because we got another good episode coming next week. Hopefully we can get Gracie on here and we'll get rolling with that.
All right. We'll see you next week. A round of applause again. Buddy, Where the Buffalo Roam.